You're watching the Alabama Weather Network.
It's time for your Saturday morning weather briefing. It's the 11th day of October. I'm meteorologist Bill Murray. Here's a beautiful scene from a past balloon fiesta in Albuquerque. They'll be lighting the balloons here, the Dawn Patrol Mass Ascension beginning as I record this now at about 6:18. They'll be beginning here in about 40 minutes in Albuquerque, and I'll be watching like crazy. But on this date back in 2004, they had a little accident. Now, of course, Albuquerque is that perfect place because they're in a canyon, and they get a northerly drainage flow at night, and then you've got, on top of the inversion, a southerly flow. So the balloonists can lift off in that northerly flow, drift to the south, and then use that southerly flow as they rise to move back to the Fiesta grounds. Really a fabulous place to do this. But on this date in 2004, a balloon was blown into the KKOB radio tower, about a 700-foot tall tower. Fortunately, no one was injured, and hopefully they won't have any problems today. Of course, the weather a little more dicey there today. But are you taking advantage of the free daily weather briefing? Jen Nairmore, Scott Martin put a ton of work into this every day. Tons of information, national weather, Alabama weather, Skywatcher information is highlighted, information on the tropics, statistics. It is just fabulous. It's in your inbox every day. Information like this, Las Vegas broke a daily record yesterday, with the remnants of Priscilla out there. Almost an inch of rain in Las Vegas yesterday. And, of course, lots of heavy rain in parts of Arizona and New Mexico as well. Also in Florida, Marathon picking up 5.22 inches of rain. Melbourne picking up over 3 inches, thanks to Jen Nairmore for collecting these record reports. Satellite picture this morning combined with radar. Radar not important across Alabama this morning because there's nothing going on the radar. Some showers over there in the Apalachicola Flint River Valley in southern Georgia. They're near Albany, but they're dying away. Plenty of showers, though, from Savannah up to Charleston, up to Augusta and Columbia. Here in Alabama, we're going to be dry today. Could see an isolated shower tomorrow morning over toward Eufaula and Abbeville, maybe over to Dothan. Skywatcher reports early this morning. Thanks, Skywatchers, for getting up early. Vic Bell in Valley Head checking in. Got to get our 40 degrees, our readings in the 40s. Valley Head checking in at 49. Christopher Owens in Morris has 50. Lee Wigginton over in Jasper checking in at 50. Brent Wyatt in Morris has 52. Andy Klein down in Helena has 53. So far, we've been able to push the line of 50s down to Chatham, over to Thomasville, to Selma, Clanton, and Alex City, maybe over to Auburn. Getting ready for a big football game in Auburn this evening. Going to be perfect weather for that. The wind gusts are starting to slowly subside. Still have a 24-mile-per-hour gust this hour at Auburn, and some wind gusts in the double digits over the southern half of the state, as we have that pressure gradient between high pressure to the west and that developing low pressure system off the South Atlantic coast. As we go through time today, those forecast wind gusts are expected to diminish, but we'll still see occasional gusts to some 10 to 15 miles an hour during the day today. But as you see, they'll be diminishing tonight, and tomorrow they'll go back into the single digits. But you see back to the northeast there, they're going to be they'll be quite strong, and there are lake wind advisories, as we'll see on the national maps in South Carolina, and lots of other wind advisories, coastal flood advisories, and things up the East Coast of the United States. That takes the sun out into Monday. You can see the wraparound cloudiness sort of works its way into eastern Alabama there on Sunday. Can't rule out an isolated shower even into Auburn. Might see a few low clouds tomorrow, places like Gadsden, Anniston, Alex City, maybe even over into Birmingham. But look for a possible shower around Eufaula, maybe down to Dothan. They're going to be very few and far between and very light, but you can't rule out a few sprinkles on the windshield if you're heading out on Sunday morning to church or your favorite activity on Sunday morning. Those clouds may hang tough into Sunday evening. These are current alerts nationally. You see those lake wind advisories in South Carolina. We got fog advisories this morning in Illinois and Missouri. We've got winter storm warnings up there around Montana. There in some of those places. We've got flood watches in parts of Colorado, Utah, also large parts of Arizona. Before I left Phoenix on Thursday, we were under a flood watch. Air stagnation advisories in the major metros there, Dallas and Houston. We got some frost advisories in Southern California. So we've got tons of coastal flood advisories and warnings, rip currents along the east coast of the United States. So lots going on nationally. We've even got some coastal flood advisories there on the central Texas coast. Nationally, you see that developing low pressure system there. There, off the southeast coast, that old trough that's we're on the backside of is going to develop that low pressure system today. We've even got flood warnings, coastal flood warnings in effect for New York City for tomorrow, where they're expecting some inundation in the boroughs. So we'll be watching that. You see the heavy rains there in parts of Arizona and up into Utah and western parts of the western slopes of the Rockies into Colorado there. So this is that's been a very active situation with the moisture from Priscilla. Severe weather outlook for today covers areas in the desert Southwest where they don't normally get very heavy rain, and so that is obviously going to cause problems in a lot of areas. We don't have any severe weather threats for tomorrow or for Monday, which is great news. Excessive rainfall potential, obviously, two areas there from the desert Southwest up into the Intermountain region there in Montana, the Rockies. That's going to be a problem there, and also along the coast of North Carolina as this coastal storm moves up the East Coast. Fire weather increasingly becoming a problem. October generally is one of the months that we have to worry about this, but places like eastern North Dakota, South Dakota, into Minnesota, also in southwestern Oklahoma, and in parts of northwestern Texas. Here in Alabama, we've got our own fire concerns. They're not very serious yet, not rising to the level of red flag warnings, but we do strongly discourage outdoor burning. If you're heading to the beach, the rip current advisories expired at 6 a.m. this morning for the Alabama and northwest Florida beaches, but over in the eastern panhandle there in Franklin County around St. George Island, we still have a high rip current risk today, so keep that in mind. Also for our mariners, small craft advisories in effect in the 0 to 60 nautical mile nearshore waters, so be careful if you're heading into the waters today. Also, if you're heading into the bays today, exercise caution as well. The 300 millibar heights up at about 30,000 feet kind of tell the story. High pressure building into the southern United States. That means a warm up for us. Some near record highs as we go into the middle part of the week, warming back into the middle and upper 80s for us here in Alabama. As we get toward next weekend, though, big trough building into the Great Lakes will send a frontal system our way and some signs that we may deal with a nice organized push of rain. The overnight run of the GFS looked promising for a good rainfall event for next Saturday night into Sunday. And we'll see if that really works out. Looking out toward Friday the 24th, this looks like a pretty decent cold front. Maybe some rain and storms there, and maybe a nice dry and cool air mass behind it. We'll watch and see how that happens. But over the next 5 days, let's kind of put this in motion. Through tomorrow, that coastal low is kind of meandering near the coast of the Carolinas there. Here in Alabama on the backside, though, we're dry. Just as I said, a few showers, maybe an isolated shower in southeastern sections. Down around the Wiregrass, a few wraparound clouds as well. Monday looks dry and warm for everybody here in Alabama. We'll be in the 80s in most spots, maybe an isolated 70, reading in the 70s over the northeastern part of the state. Same for Tuesday, warming up even more. Some folks may approach record highs, especially across central and south Alabama. Same for Wednesday. Moving on out in time here, as we look out into the future, stopping on Wednesday the 22nd, it looks like we've got a pretty decent chance of rain, for some folks there across southern Alabama. Thursday the 23rd, big cold front on the 25th, and then maybe some drier air as long as we don't get into a big upper low situation. Drought monitor showing that increasing extreme drought over West Alabama, which is obviously a concern. The entire state now, literally, with the exception of a few locations in the Tennessee Valley, are now at least in abnormally dry conditions, and most everyone now is at least in moderate drought. The rainfall outlook through next Friday is scarce at best. I really put this in here to kind of caution you because, we're starting to see some fire weather threat. A little bit this afternoon and a little bit tomorrow afternoon. So use extreme caution if you're burning at all. You have to have a permit. And the State Forestry Commission is, warning that it is just something that we really want to, hold off and, just not do right now, any outdoor burning. Your 7-day forecast for North Alabama is basically a temperature one. Highs are going to be generally between 79 and 82. Overnight lows are going to be between 50 and 57. For South Alabama, I've reintroduced a tiny chance of a shower in eastern sections for tomorrow morning. And that's going to be down generally around Ozark and Dothan, Abbeville, Eufaula. Otherwise, it's a dry forecast here, too. Temperatures are going to be in the middle 80s generally by the first part of the week, maybe even touching the upper 80s in a few spots. Overnight lows are going to be right around 60. I don't have the new weather brain slide just yet. I'll have that for your morning briefing tomorrow, but we'll be recording that on Monday. And I'll have more information on that for you there. But have notes on the blog in just a few minutes. We'll have updates throughout the day on the new Alabama Weather Network. Thank you for joining us there. And I'll have a new weather briefing for you tomorrow morning. And until I get that opportunity, as I always tell you, keep an eye to the sky because you'll always have something fun to look at.